All right, welcome on into my camping studio. I decided to bring my mini small ceramics wheel with me camping, and I thought I would just show you how I throw a little pot while I'm camping. So here's one I just made. We'll go over tools, materials, and maybe some tips and tricks that'll work when you are camping and want to bring your pottery stuff with. So first and foremost for this, you need a mini wheel. Certainly you could bring a small portable wheel with you, but this works really great. Weighs maybe just a couple pounds. The actual wheel comes with these adorable little bats that actually just like pop right on. And then this little splash pan that is magnetic. And if that isn't cute enough, it also comes with this little mini trimmer that you can use. A couple other just little tools that you need. You need a sponge. You need to have some water. Thankfully, in my small Airstream here, I do have a sink that's hooked up to water, so I'm able to get water from there. I have a wooden tool, sponge. Definitely need a needle tool. I just have some other sort of round ball stylus tools that work really well. And then I actually forgot my wire cutter, so I am using a piece of fishing line, which is great. And then I also have clay. So I brought just a couple pounds of, this is Laguna B Mix 5, and works really great to kind of throw with on this mini wheel. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will show you how this goes. Get the bat on there. Go ahead and take your piece of clay just like you usually would. You're going to sort of situate it and kind of just start with making a little bit of a cone. And definitely, I didn't mention it, but I have a rag I put on my lap just because I don't want to get clay everywhere in my camper. And move some water up here. So we get going pretty fast here to cone up. Oops. And that will happen if you do not situate your clay well enough. All right, let's try this again. Whoops. We're going to make sure that that clay is actually attached to the bat. If water gets underneath it, definitely, it's just such a little piece of clay, it will definitely sort of come up. So I'm coning up. Take out any air bubbles that might be in this. This is just scraps of clay, so there's definitely could be some air bubbles. Be careful when you do this because you can really kind of take off clay. It's such a little piece of clay. So I'm going to cone down. We'll go ahead and open it up once we get it centered. And I'm going to try to trim the bottoms of these, and I'll show you that as well. So definitely not making that bottom super thin. All right, once you kind of get your hole in the middle, you're going to open it up and towards you, just like you will. I don't know why, but when I do this when I'm camping, I make little bases. It's just what I tend to make. Now, a lot of people will use their tools to do this. I still find that the best way to do this is by using my fingers. And just feel the clay and And I do find that the tops of these get pretty uneven. So what I will do with my needle tool is I'll get it wet, get my fingers wet, and then I will go ahead and just take off this top piece. Just like you would on a big wheel. Clear out that top. And if you get water inside and you can't get your sponge back out, these are so small, you can just flip it over. All right, and then I do a little bit of trimming on the wheel, just to get a little bit of this clay off at the base. We are gonna flip it over. I have almost this little tiny Giffen grip. It's not actually a Giffen grip, it's made by Small Ceramics, but it looks like a Giffen grip that actually will adhere to this tiny wheel. All right, let's just do a little bit more trimming right here. You really don't need much water with this. Alright. That's pretty much it. And then I will turn the wheel down a little bit. Make sure my rim is smooth. And then I will go ahead and actually turn it down to barely a move. Fishing line through, and it will sometimes, like, obviously sort of scooch a little bit. And then I will go ahead and pop off this little bat. And there you have it. I have a little tiny pot that I'm going to trim a little bit later. All right, let's throw one more. Alright, that looks cute. Alright, so to pop this off, I just use my little wooden tool, pop this off, and sometimes if there's a little bit of water in there, it will actually just hang it upside down to dry. It's so little you can just use a little bit of a towel. I'm going to pop this back on actually. And then I'm going to go ahead and use, again, I grabbed fishing wire instead of my usual wire tool. This is probably one of the trickiest parts, is because you got to make sure the wheel itself doesn't weigh more than a couple pounds, and so you have to make sure you can pull the wheel towards you. All right, so there you have it. Cute little pot. I'm going to go ahead and let these dry, and then I will show you how to use the trimmer. All right. All right, welcome back in. It's the next morning. My baby pots are dried and they are ready to be trimmed. So I am going to try out the Small Ceramics mini trimming attachment. It's adorable. It looks like a tiny little Giffen grip that has these little connectors that hold your pot in place. So the first thing that we have to do in order to do this is actually take off the splash pan. So the splash pan is pretty awesome. It's magnetic, so it just literally pops off, which is really fun. And this pops on just like the bats in terms of the back. So kind of have to line it up a little bit here. And it just kind of snaps right on. And then this opens and closes to put the little pots in, just like a Giffen grip. So let's go ahead and trim this. So I'm going to open up the space. This one is a little bit And then the other thing that this does, let me show you actually before I do this, is that these little guys swivel up and down. So depending on what your pot looks like, you should adjust them actually before you start. I think my pot under there so I don't dent it. So I'm going to kind of angle these up a little bit, and you kind of just want to make sure that they're all sort of in the same position. That part is definitely not automatic. And then you're going to put your pot on there and kind of wiggle it into place. This is definitely not exactly a science, but gets it pretty close. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and turn my wheel on. I've got some baby trimming tools here that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to take off that little edge there, which is pretty nice. Now you 100% can trim a foot just like you usually would. You do have to definitely make sure this is tight on there. Try to be rather ginger about it because, unlike a gift and grip, it's not perfectly tight fit. I think you really can get with a gift and grip. Pretty important to have sharp trimming tools for this as well. This is my favorite company for trimming tools. It's called Dolan. I also like Diamond Core, but don't have any of their small ones. Again, being rather ginger. This is, golly, got this in a little set. It works okay. It's maybe not quite as sharp as my other ones, but all right. Smooth that down. Smooth the edges a little bit. Those trim marks. Release, stop it. Release it. And I use a little bit of a damp sponge just to kind of smooth out the edges here. And if it sometimes leaves a little bit of some nicks there. And then with these little pots, just because sometimes I will sometimes tap them just to make sure that those bottoms are flat. Then I'm going to use my maker's mark right in there.